Hello and welcome to our first Inspire Play Therapy podcast episode. I'm Joanne McShane, one of the therapists at Inspire Play Therapy, and today we're hoping to share with you how amazing play therapy is and to give you an insight into how it could support your child. Now, I am thrilled to introduce our host, Dawn Bradley, from Your Journey, Your Way, which is a fantastic business based in Derry. And Dawn supports mums and birth partners with hypnobirthing, and Dawn also facilitates all sorts of baby classes. In fact, she's just come from baby swim today, and when she leaves us, she's on her way to baby swim again. Now, on a personal note, I've had the privilege of attending Dawn's classes myself, and Dawn is someone I've come to for pregnancy and parenting advice, and she's a great advocate and support for many parents, which is why we've asked her here today to help us navigate this episode. I'm also here with Avril Gallagher.
Hello.
And Kathy Park.
Hi.
My wonderful colleagues at Inspire Play Therapy, and we are based in Bridgend in Donegal. We work with children and families from the Donegal and Derry area, and you can find more information about us at our Instagram and Facebook pages. Our goal today is to demystify play therapy, share how it works, and help parents understand how it could support their child. We've also gathered some questions from you through our Instagram page that we'll do our best to answer. Now, we believe that play therapy is something truly amazing and beneficial for children, and by the end of this episode, we hope you'll have a clearer understanding of what it is, how it works, and why it might be the right choice for your child. So, whether you're completely new to play therapy or just curious to learn more, we're here to guide you through it. So, let's get started. Dawn, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Thanks, Joanne, and ladies, thanks very much for inviting me here today. It's lovely to be here, especially for your first episode. It's so special.
Thank you, Dawn.
So before we get into play therapy itself and all the questions that you have been asked on your Instagram page, I'm wondering if you could tell us what it was that made you decide to be play therapists.
Well, I suppose, Dawn, my journey into play therapy started really back in September 2019. I was a special education teacher in my school, and I'd be reading through reports for pupils, and over again I was seeing this recommendation for play therapy, but I really hadn't a clue what it actually was. So I hit Google, and one quick search later, I really was hooked. Everything about it really just made sense to me. I think, I was ready for something new. I had completed reading recovery training, and I'd done a master's in special educational needs, but I was seeing more and more pupils coming into me, and they were struggling with anxiety, emotional challenges, and I knew that they just needed support just beyond the education side of things. Now, I did a primary movements course with Martin McPhillips in Belfast, and that was brilliant, but I still felt there was something more I could do. And when I found play therapy, it really did all click into place. The science behind it fascinated me. Now, I know Kathy is our sciences guru here, but I'd always been drawn to research. I did a postgrad diploma in science after college, and well, before I knew it, I had signed up for the training, and that's where I met these two amazing women who really back then became my support system, and now close friends and delighted to say colleagues, and we just clicked. Now, the training itself, as I'm sure you ladies know, was incredible, but my God, was it intense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
It was really incredible. I mean, between you have assignments, you have your supervision, you have your family, your practice, and I was working full time. It's just so much to juggle. But my family had my back, my husband held the fort at home, and my children there really did keep me going with cups of tea and words of encouragement, because every holiday, it just seemed to involve sitting hunched over the table, studying, and they never complained. I did enough of that myself. Now, my siblings, friends, and work friends were great. They listened to me talking endlessly about assignments and letting me ramble on. But looking back now, I wouldn't change a thing. It was tough, but it really was worth it. It's opened up a whole new world for me, and I have made some lifelong friends. So, yeah, a very long answer as to how I got into play therapy, Dawn, but there you go.
Oh, Avril, thanks for the lifelong friends. That's lovely. I have been a teacher for over 27 years. And do you know what? I felt like I wanted to do something different. I just wanted to see if there was something else out there. So I remember picking up a magazine in school, and on one of the ads in it was that Northern Ireland is short so many play therapists. And I thought, oh, play therapy, that sounds interesting. I have always been an infant teacher, and for me, play is absolutely essential. So this seemed to tie in with what I love doing, and yet was something different. I did the research and I started the training along with these two girls, and I've never looked back since. And do you know what as well? It wasn't just about getting the qualifications. I think as I was doing the training, I was learning things about myself that I had never really thought about before, and I was adopting a different attitude to a lot of things. So it was a personal journey for me as well as gaining the qualifications.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, something similar in the sense that I'm also a primary school teacher. I was a reception teacher in England for many years, so that would be kind of P1 here. And play is a big part of their curriculum. I loved working with that age group. I loved watching them play and seeing how they could make so many connections to their learning. And even after years of teaching, I still saw children doing fascinating things through play. So I've always enjoyed play. Eventually, I returned home back to Derry, and my brother and sister were talking about opening a business, a play centre, and they were suggesting that I could take some sort of classes or be involved in some way. And a bit like Kathy and Avril, I had some vague notion that there was something called play therapy, but I didn't know what it was. And when I looked into it, there was a one-day taster course. So I signed up for that, went to that, and that was me completely sold. That was completely different direction. I just found the day so fascinating, and I realised it was completely different to what I thought, and that it was an actual profession. I thought it was just something kind of, if I'm going to say it, airy-fairy. I just wasn't sure, but I realised it was an actual profession with new qualifications to get, and that it was a career in itself. And at this point, I'd worked as a deputy head and as an acting head, and I was getting further and further removed from working with children on a daily basis, and that's what it wasn't what I wanted. So I did the postgraduate qualification. Again, very, very challenging, but similar to Kathy, I found it like, I suppose, a personal journey, and it changed me as a person. So, we try out things that are similar to what the children do on the course and on the training. So you kind of get to have their experiences too. So it really kind of changes you as a person. And it was the best decision I ever made to become a play therapist. And I always say it's a real privilege to get to work in that way. So that's my journey into play therapy.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, the three of you, for sharing your journey into play therapy. It's actually really refreshing to listen to. Suppose you think you know what it's about until you listen to the three of you talk, and it's just so lovely. So the importance of play therapy was mentioned in a few of your answers. I think one way of helping parents understand play therapy might be if we were to explore play itself and why it's so important.
Well, I suppose play is such a natural part of childhood. It's really how children figure out the world around them. And yes, it's fun, and it's why children are drawn to it. But it's so much more than like just having a good time. Play actually shapes their brains, and it helps them to learn how to manage emotions, build that resilience that children need so much of, and solve problems. So it is really amazing when you think about it. Something so simple and like joyful for them has such a huge impact on their development. And when children play, they really are activating parts of the brain that help them process their feelings and their experiences. And I think that's why play therapy is so powerful. It really taps into what children are already doing naturally. And I think it helps them to heal and grow from the inside out.
Yeah, I think that word naturally is really helpful. So we think of play as children's primary language, and they're fluent on it. Like, children are amazing. There's a quote now that play therapists will know. It's birds fly, fish swim, children play. And I think that just kind of gets to the heart of what children are about. It's so innate in them. It goes across cultures, it goes across history. Children play all around the world. It's universal. And when they're playing, they're recreating their stories, they're recreating their inner world, and they're trying to figure themselves out, really. I'm sure people can think of toddlers. They've got very few words, but you give them a doll, and they're going to play with that doll, they're going to look after it, they're going to nurture it, they're going to say things that mommy and daddy say to them. They're making sense of their world. They don't have the words, and that's why play so powerful. They're getting to express their feelings. So really, it is fun, like foundational to their development.
Do you know, I think as well, children need opportunities to play where they can take the lead. So they need to decide what to do, they need to make the rules, and they need to figure things out as they go along. I think sometimes when adults take control of play, children can miss out on a chance to learn how to manage things independently. So for parents, this is an interesting little thing, and you might be pleased to hear that, you know, sometimes if you find it hard to make time or to join in with your child's play, it might come as a relief to know that the child will benefit from time of playing on their own or with friends and siblings and without adult intervention. So you're off the hook. If you think about it, play is a fun and low-pressure way for children to build resilience and problem-solving skills. And research has shown that the absence of play can contribute to mental health challenges, leading to feelings of unhappiness, anxiety, or a sense of being out of control. So you can see how truly powerful and valuable play is. It's worth looking at it with fresh eyes and recognising that it's far more than just a frivolous activity.
So the common topic there for you all was fun.
Yeah.
So as play therapy fun, if I was to sell this as a selling point, you know, I work with so many parents and children, and I have 4 children of my own. Could I tell my child that they're coming to use for fun to play?
Do you know, that's a good question, Dawn. And yes, play therapy can be fun, but it's not always about having fun. Because really it's going to be a space where children work through difficult things at their own pace, and sometimes that's challenging. What makes it special is that it's their space to explore, process and heal in a way that feels natural and safe to them. Sometimes that means there's going to be joy and laughter, and it will be fun. And then other times it means there could be tears and courage will be required. Either way, it's a powerful process that helps them grow.
Thank you, Kathy. So I'm just going to jump into one of the questions from your Instagram page that one of the parents has asked, and that is, my child's teacher suggested we look into play therapy, but I'm not really sure what it is. Can you explain it in simple terms?
Well, I suppose to start off first, Dawn, I'll just give you like the official definition from Play Therapy UK, which we trained with, and that they say that like play therapy is a method of helping children with behavioural, emotion or mental health problems to help themselves. And it's based on the fact that play is a child's natural medium of self-expression and uses play to give the child an opportunity to play out their feelings and problems. So Dawn, I've just read that out. So just to go a wee bit deeper into that, play therapy is like a type of therapy designed specifically for children between the ages of 3 years, 10 months and 12, because really at this age, children don't always have the words to explain what they're thinking or feeling, and that's where play comes in. It really is our natural language. And I'll quote Gary Landreth, and every play therapist listening will be rolling their eyes at this, but he is a godfather of play therapy. And for children, play is their language and toys are their words. It's how they make sense of the world. You know, when a child pretends that they're a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or a mommy or a daddy, that's not just play. That's them working out what they see and what they experience around them. And an important part of play therapy really is that the child is leading the play. We're not there to push an agenda. We're not there to rush them through anything. We're just really there to support them at their own pace. I remember one child I had in the play therapy room, they would come in and spend the first few sessions just building towers with blocks. No words, just building, and that was okay. That safe, pressure-free space is what allowed them to start opening up and working through what they were carrying inside. But make no mistake, like play therapy isn't just about fun and games. It's really about creating that safe space. And you'll hear us using those words, safe space, a lot. And what that really means is where a child can just be. There's no expectations or no demands on them, because we know there's demands and expectations on children everywhere else. So in that space, there's real healing and growth can happen. And then we gently would guide them, helping them explore whatever feelings and challenges in a way that's comfortable and meaningful really for them. And when that connection happens, when a child starts to process their experiences through play, you can really see the transformation and you can see it starting to take shape. And like Joanne said, that is really a privilege to be part of.
Yeah.
Thank you, Avril. It was lovely. Joanne, you want to add anything?
Yeah, just absolutely. It is a privilege. And I think what's unique about play therapy is that it meets children where they're at emotionally. So unlike adults, as we keep saying, they don't have the words to express how they're feeling or what's bothering them. I'm sure yourself, Dawn, as a parent and other people listening will have experience of knowing there's something wrong with their child, asking them, what's wrong? Nothing. what's wrong? You can see there's something wrong, and they keep going, nothing, nothing. And it's like, oh, I can't get them to answer me. But maybe later on, when you're relaxed or you're playing alongside them, they might start telling you about their day, and they might, let you in a little bit more. So really, that's what we tap into in play therapy. And as play therapists, we are using this natural way that children communicate to play and let them express their feelings, but we just happen to be doing it on a deeper level. And obviously we've got the training and, play therapy as a modality. There's years of research behind it. So we're giving children the opportunity to communicate in a way that feels really instinctive and safe. As Avril says, that safe space. And as therapists, we're helping them to use play to process difficult experiences or emotions that they might otherwise feel very overwhelming. And it's just amazing to see how they begin to make sense of the world through this process. And for me, that's what makes play therapy so special.
Thank you, Joanne.
If I can just cut in here now with a little bit about the brain, because it's actually incredible when we think about what happens to the brain during play. When children engage in play, their brains are rewiring and creating new connections. I'm just going to repeat that because I think it's really important. Their brains are rewiring and creating new connections. And we call this neuroplasticity. Play therapy taps into this natural ability, helping children develop healthier patterns of thinking and behaviour. And it's so much more than just playing. It's about giving them a safe space that we have all three of us have talked about, in fact, working through challenges, building resilience, and growing in a way that feels natural and supported. So hopefully by the time we've answered a few more questions, it'll become clearer to you what play therapy really is about. I'm also delighted that a teacher has suggested using play therapy. It's great to see that they've recognised your child might benefit from this approach. Teachers are often some of the first people to notice when a child is struggling, and it's wonderful that they've taken proactive steps to support your child's emotional and mental well-being. Play therapy really can make a difference in helping children thrive, both at school and at home.
Thank you, Kathy. I suppose, Kathy, Joanna and Avril, all the things that you were saying is so lovely to listen to. And then I think a lot of parents question themselves, do they play enough? Are they doing enough? And even as a parent myself of 4 children, I'm listening thinking, should I play more? Am I playing the right way? All them things. And I have got lots of training in relation to brain development, and it's been embedded in me from I was at school and right through now to what I do this at the minute. So it's even the comment that you said about the teacher, for a parent to hear a teacher saying, I think you should maybe try out child therapy. That sets a wee bit of panic into parents because they don't know why or what exactly is it that's going to come out of child therapy. So he's answered so much of that for anybody that's listening in. It would be great. And I suppose lots of people are listening and thinking, we all should book play therapy because it's beneficial to everybody, really, isn't it? Yeah. Because there's so much goes on in the world now, and social media is still a big, massive part of their life. A lot of them have emotional things that they have to work through as well. So it is really nice to hear all them explanations about play therapy as well.
And I think one thing, maybe Avril, just to reassure parents, because you're right, you get that like, oh God, am I doing enough? Is this okay? Is that okay? It's about connection. Mm-hmm. So it's really, spend time with your child and doing something that they like. You're going to connect with them. Yeah. So there's no kind of right or wrong way in that sense. Mm-hmm. Just kind of try and enjoy it. And I know sometimes it can be a bit, should I say it, a bit boring for parents. Sometimes it's some of the play because obviously children like to be repetitive, but it's just sort of meeting them where they're at and enjoying being along with them. And doesn't have to be like, oh, I must sit down for an hour tonight. Yeah. It could be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there.
And children just want you being there. Yeah. Even if you're there and they're reading you the story, their imaginary story from their book, they just want you to be there.
Yeah, it's just special for them.
So we just want to reassure parents as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job.
So the next question is play therapy only for children going through really big challenges? Suppose that's kind of answering a wee bit before, but you can probably check into it a wee bit deeper. Or could it help with everyday struggles too? I'm wondering who it actually is for.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one that we find comes up a lot. People aren't quite sure. So first, just give you an idea of the age we work with. I think Avril did mention, but it's typically children aged 3 to 12 years old. And as we've said, at this age, they're going to find it easier to express themselves through play rather than words. So that's what makes play therapy especially meaningful for them at that age. So play therapy is for children who are struggling emotionally, socially, or behaviourally. So some children come to us because they are facing really big challenges. It could be grief, family separation, or dealing with a major illness, whether it's their own or somebody in the family. But yes, it is also incredibly valuable for children dealing with everyday struggles such as anxiety, anger, or difficulty making friends. And that would be difficulty making friends would be a really common theme that we would see in the playroom. Because let's face it, life can be really overwhelming for children. They're under so many pressures these days, and often we hear from parents who sense that something's off. They've noticed that their child is struggling. They've tried everything they can, but they can feel that their child needs extra support to move forward, and that's where we come in at Inspire Play Therapy. So with our training experience, we're trying to provide that safe space for children to process what they're feeling and work through their challenges. And of course, the benefits don't just stop there. When a child feels better, there's often a positive impact on the whole family. So that brings more balance and connection into family life. I suppose that's that word connection again. It's really important.
Yeah, Joanne, you're absolutely right. I think it's really important to emphasise that even though one child in the family may be going to play therapy, the effect that that will have on the whole family is really beneficial. I don't know how many times I've had parents who've come to me at the end of play therapy and said, it's amazing. We can now have a family day out. We can go to the swimming pool now. We can have a family holiday. We can go for a ride in the train. All sorts of things that they had not even thought would ever happen again have now been possible because one of their children has been to play therapy. So it is an amazing route for the whole family.
Yeah, Kathy, I really agree with you. Having a child who is struggling it's really like that ripple effect. You know, you drop a stone into the water and you're watching the waves spread out. It really does. It affects the whole family. I remember years ago I was listening to an interview, and like that was long before I became a mummy, and something the guest said really stayed with me. They talked about happiness and contentment in life, and I can't even remember who said it, but she uttered a really simple but a very powerful statement. She said, as a parent, you're really only as happy as your unhappiest child. And at the time, it resonated with me, but I didn't really fully grasp it. But now, as a mommy to 3 great children, I understand just how meaningful that statement is. When your child is struggling, it impacts every part of your being. And as a play therapist sitting with parents in consultations, I see that truth reflected over and over again. Parents carry their child's sadness with them. If one of my children are struggling, I'm at work and it's still at the back of my mind. And parents often feel helpless and they're searching for ways to help them. So I genuinely believe that like play therapy offers that way, and it's not just for the child themselves to heal and grow, but it's also for the parents to find that hope and reassurance. And like when a child really begins to express and process their feelings through play, those ripples of healing really extend way beyond the therapy room, really impact the family, and I think really brings a sense of peace and balance back to the entire family again.
Yeah, Avril, as a mum, I can totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And it's so important. You all talked about the importance of the family, and nobody looks at the family when they're thinking about play therapy. They think about the one child that needs the support, but it's so powerful to hear you talking about everybody else within the family as well, because everybody else matters, and it's so nice to hear that as well. So just moving on to the next question, a parent has asked, if I brought my child to a play therapy session, what does it look like? They're trying to picture what will actually happen in the room. How do you go about it? How long does it last? And what happens within that room?
Okay, I'll take this one here. So each session will last between 40 to 45 minutes, and we have one session per week with each child. At Inspire Play Therapy, we have 2 fully equipped playrooms, and in these playrooms we have what we would call the toolkit. When the child comes into the room, they're basically in charge of the session. They lead the session and decide what they want to play with, what they don't want to play with. if they want to include the play therapist or not. They make those decisions. My role then is to provide a safe space, and I listen and reflect anything going on for the child. The child might want to include me, or they may just not want to include me at all. It also takes a little bit of time for a relationship to develop between the child and the therapist. So it will not necessarily happen on the first session. Near the end of the session, I give the child a 5-minute reminder and then a 1-minute reminder before the end of the session. So this is what happens in basic terms, but many different layers are occurring in the playroom. And we have been trained to notice and stay with the feelings of each child. The majority of our work is non-directive, as that really, really works, and that's the one we use the most. However, if needed, we can introduce various activities, maybe like a story or some breathing exercises, if we think that it might be appropriate for the child.
Yeah, as Kathy mentioned, there are so many layers and levels to what's happening in play therapy. You know, to the outside world, it might seem like just play, but beneath the surface, there's so much more going on. We've talked at length, or I feel I have, about play being a child's way of expressing feelings and navigating challenges that they mightn't have the words for. Like, you might have a child who's repeatedly building and knocking down towers. To an observer, to someone looking from the outside, it might just seem like simple play. But what they could be doing is like working through frustration or fear of failure. Similarly, in one of the play therapy rooms, there's a basketball net over the door, and that is just one of the most popular things in my room. And we have children, and they're in, and they are throwing the ball in over and over again. And again, to an outsider, that might just look like they're trying to get the ball into the hoop, and they are, but at a deeper level, it could be them building resilience, which God knows our children need in this world, and learning perseverance, another skill our children need. There's so much more happening beneath the surface in these moments. And again, like Joanne and Kathy have said, it is so incredibly powerful to be part of this.
Yeah, and I think a really major point is that the child's the expert in their own feelings, and we trust them to show us the way. That's why we let them lead the sessions. And over time, we'll start to notice patterns or themes in their play, and that gives us some insight into what they're processing. So if I give you an example, we might see a child spending a lot of time in the sand tray, and we would have lots of miniatures, and they might be playing with little figures and acting out a scene over and over again. Now, that might be a way for them to express something they can't put into words. They could be reenacting a difficult event, like a change at home or feeling overwhelmed at school. And often it'll be really subtle. It might be through fairy tale characters, or we've got like little skeletons, or it could be anything it's a bit removed from the actual situation. But this would be a bit like when adults would journal their feelings, and they're doing that to process what's going on for them. But this child might use the sand in the same way to work out how they're feeling. So as we watch, we're seeing how the play begins to mirror the child's inner world. And it's like seeing a child's journey unfold bit by bit as they find their own way to make sense of what's happening and, to let the healing take place.
So sounds very, very child-led, which is great.
Yeah, so we would follow a person called Virginia Axline. There's 8 principles, and one of those is that the child leads, the therapist follows. That's really kind of fundamental to our work.
Thank you, ladies. So thanks everybody for listening in. Thank you, Avril, Joanne and Kathy. That was just so lovely to listen to, and great insight for myself as a parent, as well as I'm sure many parents that are listening in as well. We are going to continue on to part 2 on another episode. So now I have to go home and play more with my child.
or just be there.
Or just be there. So that was absolutely lovely, ladies. And it's a thank you for everybody for listening in, and thank yous again, because it was really great insight for everybody.
Thank you, Dawn. You made it so easy.
Thanks, Dawn.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, they can follow us at Inspire Play Therapy, where we do provide parenting tips and support. You can follow us at Inspire Play Therapy on Instagram and Facebook.